tremendous round of golf today here at the John Deere. What was working for you? It looked like everything was working for you.
Well, look, it's not a testing golf course. You got to shoot. You can shoot 5, 6, 7 under. It's not too hard to do. I've seen a 60 personally myself here. Steve Strick a couple of years ago, and Paul Goddard's 59. For me, you've got to be thinking around here 5, 6, 7, 8 birdies around to go in the right direction. There's an opportunities out there. If they tuck the pins, the greens get a little bit firmer. That's going to be more difficult. But you've really got to be thinking ploughing ahead for birdies.
Do you think it's going to firm up as the week? It's been very dry here. It looks like it's going to firm up each day more and more, right?
Well, I hope so. The problem you have is that you've got quite reasonably high temperatures, maybe about average for you guys this time of year in this area. Humidity's down. That will dry the greens out, dry the grasses out a lot quicker. Problem with that is these greens, the grasses here are used to a bit of moisture, used to the rain, used to the sprinklers. So it'll be a borderline between keeping them dry and firm and fast, if that's possible, and not having them get to a stage where they start to maybe die and maybe go backwards. So that'll be the toughest thing for the tour, and that will be the thing that will decide whether we're still shooting 7/8 each round, 5, 6, 7/8, right, or whether we're happy with 3s, 4s, 5s. So Mother Nature typically will play a role, but here I think it'll be a matter of how worried the staff get on the colour of the greens, on the colour of the fringes and those sort of things.
Well, for you, being an Australian, you're used to that dry type of weather in the Gulf, so it ought to be more comfortable for you, right?
Yes and no. I mean, it's sort of similar to Australia, but not quite. The bent grass here is a lot softer. We have a lot of bouncy conditions very easily. Parts of this course will be bouncy, parts won't be. The secret will be knowing when that's the case. What may feel for me, or I'm not sure because I've not played this course in the conditions that we're looking at, is how much bounce the greens will have come Sunday. Do you allow 5 yards for a wedge, or do you allow 2, or do you allow 8? That's the tricky part of the game that everyone's going to have to face, and maybe for the Australians it might be easier, but we're used to greens that sound like plyboard more than what we have here.
Right.
So that's when it gets tricky. When you've hit the ball and the time between you've hit it and it's stopped, that gap gets longer. That's when the game starts to get harder. The opposite being when it's soft, bang, stops, it's done. Typically that's what we've seen here, but I think for a first for many years we're going to see some balls doing some tricky stuff.
No, as a layperson, I was watching you hit shots, and for me, really, I'm telling you, I have never seen anyone so consistent. I mean, like you were right on the flag. It's just, I don't know how you can be so consistent with your shots.
Well,
like
I guess on the range, like tennis, we get a second serve. We get many serves. So, and I was just saying to James Driscoll, I hit a good drive my last ball, and I said, but it took me half a bag to get there. So, that is what the range is for. You're trying to practice. You're trying to grind something in, trying to solidify, make something real valid. And then ultimately as a player, you're trying to test that on a golf course. So once you're out there and you go, gee, that's just like on the range yesterday, that's how you can really build confidence. You got to start here, take it out there, and let it mature.
I know you believe you like auto racing. You follow the Formula One or in the Indy. I mean, Will Power, is he someone you keep following?
I do. I actually met Will a handful of years ago, just before those guys left the Gold Coast event in Australia. I'm going to make up a rough idea. I probably met Will about 5 years ago or more, very briefly. He had a bad race, so I know what it's like when you have a bad golf event. You don't want to be talking to many people, so I was out of there. But very much following Will, any of these strains. I mean, certainly. Coming over here in the mid-90s, I'm following anybody that's Australian. I think Marcus Ambrose certainly racing for the DeWalt Stanley Cup team. So he, following him, he's actually a close friend of Matty Goggin, who's playing on this tour. They both live in Charlotte, both Tasmanians. So we sort of network together, much like whenever there was Americans on the Aussie tour, they always seem to be able to find Americans. So, and I married Americans, so I'm sort of a bit of a hybrid for sure.
Finally, I just want to mention that one of the big thrills for me watching was the Greenbrier. You win there in 2010 because I went to school there at Greenbrier. There used to be a military school there, and James Justice. I actually went to school with with him, but that had to be a thrill for you. I mean, to play on that historic course and to get the win.
Absolutely. That particular week, I was seeing some of the Sam Snead's memorabilia from his 59. The card, a ball, tiny little ball, a putter. Just looking at his scorecard, looking at the length of the hole, thinking, he's made a birdie, par birdie, and just thinking, wow, unbelievable. Lo and behold, that would be me 4 or 5 days later, I had no idea the inaugural event there. And since then, I've signed a contract to represent Greenbrier. So, and I spent my family there. I'm about 5 hours from there in Ohio. I'm up north in the summer. So we love it there. It is America's resort. It's a phenomenal place. If you want to play golf, you play golf. When I come there, I just want to hang by the pool, order food. It's all the activities, and unfortunately as a player, when we were there during the tournament, we were sort of stuck with the golf, and it's hard to sort of get out the shooting and all sorts of stuff to do, which my family did last week. But yeah, that's a very unique event and a pretty cool place to hang out.
We want to keep you away from the shooting when you have a bad round, though, right?
Well, yeah, maybe that. I'm trying to shoot low,
All right.
Shoot low, and it's a good fun place. So I'd love to rekindle a bit more. I haven't had this success since my win. But a great place to get it going for sure.
And Kenny Perry, I believe, was also representing.
Kenny Perry, and I guess Tom Watson is the sort of the I don't know.
Pro emeritus.
Pro emeritus, exactly. Played with Tom last year and Phil Mickelson. This year I played with Phil again, but we've both missed the cut the last 2 years, so we've managed to screw each other up. But a great place to hang out.
Well, you've been very gracious. We appreciate it, and Mr. Consistency out there. I admire the way you play.
As long as I
truly
get my
do.
scorecard to be consistent, that's what
all
I'm
right.
looking for.
Well, thank you, sir.
Cheers. Thank you all. Cheers.